that's what we need to do more of. If we are more empathetic and sometimes sympathetic to others,
everything is a really important part of us sustaining. Yemi Penn, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so thrilled to have you. Because you are a legend, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, and in the way that is appropriate for a lady of your stature.
like you said, my name's Yemi Penn. I best describe myself as an engineer by profession, an entrepreneur by passion, and a mindset transformation coach by mission. And look, these are just words. I am whoever and whatever I want to be. I literally like to do things that set my soul on fire because life is indeed quite short. And so I decided, okay, let's take the reins off and let's pretend as if there was nothing stopping you but yourself. But yes, that's the best way I describe myself.
The introduction really taps into a sense of identity that is solid.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've admired of you from afar, is this solid sense of identity. Is that true, or am I just picking up something?
I really love these kind of intimate conversations, because what we put out on our social media or work media platform is never the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's just a snippet. I'm becoming significantly more confident in knowing who I am. I am becoming more confident in what I stand for, and it makes what I do so much easier.
I love that, because I feel like I've got such a long way to go in terms of the comfort on the external skin and what that actually means, and what I'm allowed to talk about, what I'm not allowed to talk about, and what does that look like to my clients and all those sorts of things. I seek solace and aspiration from hearing you speak about that sense of identity that way.
It definitely takes time, but I think judgment plays a big part in it. I remember I did a talk a couple of years ago and someone said, how do you get on the stage and you just seem so comfortable? And I said, I'm actually not. I get very nervous in the beginning, but the minute I kind of confess to my audience that I'm nervous, it takes it away, because I think what I draw out of them is an element of empathy. And that's what we need to do more of. If we are more empathetic and sometimes sympathetic to others, it's kind of like a law of attraction thing. It bounces back to us. It takes time, but for me, the biggest thing has been to reduce the judgment I had for others, because I ultimately became kinder to myself.
That's great. But I want to shift our attention now to this idea of work, because work is something that fascinates me. This idea that, for a good part of our waking hours, we spend engaging in this thing called work. What does work mean to you? What does it mean to go to work as Yemi Penn?
The first time I think I said anything publicly about work was the launch of my podcast last year, January. I was about to head back to work and I was teasing the listeners that work is such a dirty word. Like, I was having a mini panic attack because I've had a week off, currently in quarantine, and I knew I needed to get my head back in the game for some work I'm doing for a client. So there's still this connotation around some parts of work that I actually think takes away my freedom. And so I have to go and re-look and say, well, what's the issue here? Is it that you don't enjoy your work? Is it that you don't think you're doing well enough in the work? Is it that you need diversity of work? So for me, my definition of work is adding value. It really is adding value. And I find that I get more nervous when I'm not adding value. And so I have to ask myself the question, do I need to remove myself from that work environment, or do I need to change it? So work for me is anything and anywhere where there's value add.
And do you think there's a relationship between that and the identity conversation that we just had before?
I think there is a relationship, but what I'm struggling to answer is whether that's the answer. Because when you asked me to introduce myself, we all play roles, Hi, my name is Yemi. I'm the mother to 2 beautiful kids. I'm an engineer. I'm a this, I'm a that. These are all roles. And based on the English dictionary, a role is something you play in. So we effectively are taking off our hats. So there is a part of us that identifies with the work we do. But then I don't just have one job. I have a number of them. So does That mean I have multiple identities? I think the psychological world will have a different name for that.
No, I actually think that's exactly what it sounds like. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay, there is an identity to it. And I think that's why parts of this pandemic we've had this year has been a big trigger for a lot of people, because if your identity was heavily anchored to your work and your work became different or no more, then you start to have a genuine identity crisis. So that there is a link. Is it right or wrong? That I don't know yet.
We definitely see that plays a role during the retirement, and it's a generalization, but particularly for older men, when their identity has been wrapped up in the one thing that they've done all their lives and they haven't got a plan B. The fusion of identity and work can be problematic. I think what I'm hearing, though, is that notion of work being about adding value. Has that increasingly become so because you've become more comfortable with the fluidness of the identities that you've got?
The answer would be yes. So for me now, I seek out work that I would really want to do and not mind not getting paid. And so my identity, I guess, has shifted with that. It's a case of, do I want to do this? Firstly, can I get paid? Because I truly believe we can get paid for doing stuff we love. So I've had to evolve. You know, I studied engineering, then the thought of not doing engineering and doing coaching bothered me. And I said, why do I have to choose one? Why can't I do a bit of both? It takes work and it requires a lot of us to unlearn what we've been taught.